Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are breaking down what is honestly a landmark launch, OpenAI's ChatGPT 5. People are already calling it the smartest, the fastest, and the most useful AI we've ever seen. So yeah, let's get right into it.
So, you just heard it from the CEO of OpenAI himself, Sam Altman. That's a pretty powerful way to put it, right? Like upgrading from a pixelated screen to a retina display. He's basically promising a massive jump in clarity and capability. So let's dive in and see what actually makes this upgrade so significant.
Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, what is this next-generation AI? Then we'll look under the hood at its smarter, unified brain. We'll check out some of its new superpowers, see how it's more honest and has less fluff, and finally, we'll wrap up with what all this really means for you.
All right, section 1. So, this thing launched on August 7th, 2025. And let's be clear, this isn't just another update. It's really a whole new generation of AI. The big idea here was to create something that feels less like you're talking to a chatbot and more like you're collaborating with, a genuine expert, someone with a PhD in, almost anything.
Now, it's a massive leap forward for sure. OpenAI is calling it a major step towards what's known as artificial general intelligence, or AGI. But, and this is important, they're also being really upfront that it's not true AGI. Not yet. A huge reason why is that it can't learn on its own after it's been released. Its knowledge is basically locked in place. So it's incredibly powerful, but it's also a static tool.
Okay, so let's get a little technical and look under the hood. This is where it gets really interesting, because the magic of GPT-5 isn't just that it's bigger or has more data. Nope. It's all about a fundamental change in how it thinks.
So instead of having one giant model trying to do everything at once, think of it like this. GPT-5 has two brains that work together. There's this intelligent router that acts like a traffic cop. When you ask it something simple, it sends it to the fast, lightweight brain. Quick and easy. But if you ask a really complex question, it knows to call in the big guns. This deep GPT-5 thinking model. It's a powerhouse.
And here's how that process works. You ask a question, the router figures out how tough it is, and then engages the right brain for the job. Why does this matter for you? Well, it means you get the speed you want for simple queries, but you don't lose any of that deep, reasoning power when you really need it for the hard stuff. It's just seamless. You don't even notice it happen.
And this quote from Nick Turley, OpenAI's product lead, really sums it up perfectly. You get the best of both worlds. It can reason when it needs to reason, but you don't have to wait around forever for simple answers. It's just a smarter, more efficient design.
Okay, a smarter brain is cool in theory, but what can it actually do? What are the results? Well, this is where we get to the really fun stuff, the new superpowers. We're talking huge jumps in coding, in reasoning, and just in how much information it can handle at once.
Honestly, the improvements in its coding abilities are kind of jaw-dropping. This isn't just about fixing a few lines of code. We're talking about giving it a single prompt and having it generate a complete, functional website or app. They actually did this in a demo, asked it to create a jumping ball runner game, and boom, it spat out a playable game, complete with high scores and graphics, all in one go. That's wild.
And this isn't just hype from a flashy demo. The numbers are there to back it up. On something called the SWE bench, which is a really tough benchmark that tests how well an AI can solve actual software engineering problems from places like GitHub, it scored almost 75%. That's a new state-of-the-art score, beating everything that came before.
Then there's its memory, or what's called the context window. It can just process so much more information at once now. Let's put this into perspective. GPT-4, it could maybe analyze a dense research paper. GPT-5, it can analyze the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, the whole thing, all at once. That is an absolute game changer if you're working with huge documents or complex code bases.
And it's not just about cramming more data in. It's about genuine reasoning. Look at this. On a test called GPQA, which is full of PhD-level science questions, the kind of questions that even human experts struggle with, the pro version of GPT-5 got almost 90% of them right. That's an incredible level of scientific reasoning.
Okay, so with all that incredible power, the next question is obvious, right? Can you trust it? And that's a huge deal. That's why OpenAI put a heavy focus on making GPT-5 more reliable, more honest,
Basically, a more trustworthy partner.
And this chart really shows the results. We're looking at a drastic reduction in what are called hallucinations, when the AI just makes stuff up. Compared to the last model, GPT-5 makes about 45% fewer factual errors. That is a massive improvement in accuracy.
It's also a lot smarter about how it handles sensitive prompts. You know how you'd sometimes get that hard, "I cannot do that" brick wall? Well, that's gone. Now it uses what they call a safe completions approach. It'll try to give you a helpful answer that stays within the safety guardrails, and then it'll actually explain why it can't go any further. It's just more nuanced, more helpful.
And here's something you'll probably notice right away. It's been trained to be less of a people pleaser. That sycophantic behavior, where it just agrees with you to be agreeable, has been cut by more than half. So you're going to get more direct, more honest answers, and probably a lot fewer of those annoying emojis and apologies.
All right, so let's bring this all together. Beyond the deep tech, what does this mean for you and your daily use? What are the new features, the industry impact, and what's next?
This is a really cool new feature. For the very first time, you can pick a preset persona for the AI. So instead of having to type out, "act like a witty critic" every single time, you can just pick one. Want a skeptical cynic? A super precise robot? A compassionate listener? Or a detail-obsessed nerd? It's just one click.
And now for maybe the biggest news for most people. This is a real game changer. The most powerful AI model from OpenAI is no longer just for paid subscribers. GPT-5 is now the default model for everyone, free tier users included. That means everybody gets access to this advanced reasoning right out of the box.
So, how does it actually stack up against the competition? Well, it's a tight race. As you can see, it leads in some really important areas, like coding and science, but the competition is fierce. On some specific hard exams, rivals like xAI's Grok have actually edged it out. It just goes to show you, no single model is the undisputed champion across every single task.
When you look at the timeline, this release is clearly another huge milestone on that long, winding, and, let's be honest, hotly debated road to AGI. OpenAI is very deliberate in calling this a significant step towards their ultimate goal, which is to build an AI that can outperform humans at most of the work that drives our economy.
And so all of this leaves us with a really powerful final thought. When you have a tool this powerful, an expert collaborator that's available to practically anyone in any field, what does that unlock for human creativity? What new possibilities are now within our reach? What's the next great thing we're going to build with this?